Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. On the agenda tonight, we're going back to Live Aid 1985. We're going to be taking a look at Eric Clapton and he's going to be performing Layla. This is one of those videos that might fail on copyrights, so you guys know the drill. If it does happen, then I'm going to put it in the title of the video and you guys can click on the link in the description below and also pinned to the top of the comments. Click on that link, watch the performance and then come back here for the analysis. I'm just going to jump in here. That is not the end of the performance. This passage that we're listening to before the track is in D minor and Layla is in D minor. So it's one of those lead passages that you can sit back and listen to and appreciate. But the amount that Eric is doing on the guitar in terms of just determining the tone is exactly where he wants it. He's changed to the middle pickup there. He's also got that little finger at points just cupped around that volume. So he's just tweaking his tone. It's something to look out for when Eric is playing in terms of editing his tone on the fly and just rolling off a little bit of that gain and overdrive sound from his guitar. And then when he does want to open up the taps and go all the way to 10 and bridge pickup, there's going to be a lot of difference between the two tones, so it will certainly give a dramatic change and give you that light and shade in the lead work. But let's get back into the performance that hasn't actually started yet, but it will now. I'm just going to jump in here because I've got to point out, first of all, everybody would have noticed this so far, that we are pushing the tempo here. It's something that I mentioned in other videos about gradually speeding up throughout the performance. It's something that can happen at big gigs. It doesn't get much bigger than Live Aid in 1985. That burst of adrenaline that you must feel performing in front of so many people. But we've also got two drum kits being played here, and we have Phil Collins on one kit and Jamie Oldaker on the other kit. This can often be the case that if one drummer is just a little bit too fast tempo-wise, when you've got two kits and two separate drummers, the other drummer is going to speed up in order to match that tempo. Now, the first drummer has noticed the other drummer speeding up, so he speeds up, and you've got this self-perpetuating push in tempo because it's constantly going to happen when each drummer hears the other one speeding up. And that's the problem. And the other thing, you can rewind this and listen to exactly where the push happens. It's always getting into the verse where we should have a little bit of refrain into that verse and relax a little bit. It's actually the opposite. We start to push the tempo. But if there is one gig that you expect to hear a little bit of pushed tempo, it certainly would be Live Aid in 1985. Putting the spotlight on Eric at the front of the stage because I've already mentioned about those tiny edits that he makes to his tone just before the track starts in D minor. But the thing that Eric has that so few artists have is a wide skill set in terms of being able to write a great riff, a great song, being a top guitarist, but also being a top vocalist. And this is something that I want to point out in this performance is Eric Clapton's vocals, because they are so accurate, but also keeping it all in chest voice and belting out these notes. We're hitting an A flat here vocally pretty regularly, which is not easy for a male singer. It's getting up towards that male tenor range. We are talking about A, and then we've got A sharp, B, and then C5. So we're only 3 or 4 notes off here, that C5, that holy grail of male tenor singing range. So Eric blasts this out in chest voice for the whole song. He's got great control. The way that he adds these blues lines to the end of his vocal phrases that are so under control as well. He does have variations in that original melody that he's just performing in this live version, so it distinguishes it from that original recording, but gives you that live version that is totally unique. And the whole song is around that G, G sharp, A, and all on that high E string. If you're looking at your guitar, I'm sure the people that have played covers of this in cover bands will know what I'm talking about. It is deceptive, blasting out this vocal, because it is right up there. You have to be so consistent vocally and have great technique, and you can't cut any corners with Layla, because as soon as you try and implement a lighter head voice sound, it's not going to cut it. It will just sound wrong, because Eric Clapton belts this out in chest voice the whole time to get that emotion in there. A lot of people will just see Eric Clapton as a guitar player and one of those guys that's always towards the top end of the best guitarists in the world and the top 100 guitarists ever. So he's got that expression on the fretboard, but when you then add in the fact that he can sing to the level that he can, and he can write songs, write riffs to the level that he can as well, it just puts him in a totally different league. Because I always say on this channel about artists and musicians that play really well but don't really necessarily have the ability to write great songs. I've mentioned that about some great technically gifted guitarists, how difficult it is to then turn that technical ability into a great song and into great melody. You get that authentic sound from Eric's voice, and the same voice is coming through the guitar, and that's why they blend together so well. You very rarely will have a top-selling artist, top-selling guitarist who sings really well, great control, can belt out in chest voice like Eric, has great control of vibrato and the little blues throwaway lines that I've mentioned as well. And then they'll get into a solo, and that solo sounds totally different to their voice in terms of just shredding a million notes a second, because those two voices don't correlate. But when you have a great singer who can play the guitar really well, those two things correlate, because the guitar is their voice as well. And having control of vibrato is such an important thing when you are doing that. And a guy like Eric, as you know, has such great control of that. It is his trademark. And you might have a great guitarist who can't sing very well, or you might have a great guitarist who can sing well but can't write songs, or you have a great songwriter who can't sing or play an instrument. There are so many different combinations of those three elements, so having just one person that can do all three to the top level is so rare. So mentioning that songwriting ability, with Layla, we start out with a world-beating riff. Everybody knows it now, of course, it's iconic, and you only need to hit a few notes in order to get what it is. But then moving into the verse, something really weird happens, and that is going from a C to a C sharp minor. It's the last thing that your ear and your brain is expecting. It's such a weird jump to get into that verse. And it's a totally clean cut off from the intro. So when the intro starts, we're in D minor. It means that that is our root chord. Our root note is a D. And that is home. In terms of how our ear hears it, it's the key of the intro. So you really want to always return there. So by the end of that intro, your ear is expecting it to go back to D minor. But we have this weird jump to C sharp minor. So straight away, it means that this verse is totally set apart from the rest of the song, but then we get that dramatic jump again into the chorus. I also mention all the time about hitting your high note in the chorus, and we do have that here, but it isn't dramatic because the verse starts right up there. The high note in the verse is an A flat, and the high note in the chorus is an A. So we're only talking a semitone here, just one note higher. So it isn't a really dramatic chorus in terms of hitting an octave above where your verse is, but it does the job because it is such a clean cutoff from the verse. We do have the backing harmonies in there as well, which are quite high in the mix in this performance, and they are female vocalists, so they're taking it all the way up to a D5. which gives you quite a wide range vocally when you add that to the top of Eric's range, going from the A flat in the verse to the A in the chorus. So it is a dramatic change with the backing harmonies, but like I said, this track is relentless in terms of singing the verse and then singing the chorus. You'll also notice how Eric changes his vibrato to match the mood and the speed of the performance, because we are pushing the tempo here. So Eric is just speeding up that vibrato. As we know, slow hand has the ability to really slow vibrato down and get that expression, but when you've got control of that technique, it means that you can match the expression of the song that you're playing, but also if things do become a little bit more manic, then you can speed up that vibrato to match. But let's get back into the performance. And there we have it. So the thing to point out about Eric Clapton's playing is what he doesn't play, because there are so many points within that whole solo at the end. Again, a totally separate part of the song, very much like the intro going into the verse. It's that total cutoff. In order to get into the keys, it almost sounds like it's a different song, but that's the whole point, to give you that interesting end to the journey. The gaps that are in there give you an appreciation of his conscious thought process and the fact that he's throwing everything down onto that fretboard consciously. These aren't just pre-rehearsed lines that are always going to be the same. He's thinking about going to different places. So if you want to, you can rewind it and have a look to see how much Eric is playing, but also when he just slides down to silence, and there might be a second or 2 seconds of not playing. So if you're constantly singing vocal phrases at an audience and bombarding them with lyrical content without any breaks, it means you're not giving the audience a chance to break down the information and have an emotional response to it, or even to understand it at any level, because they haven't been given that opportunity. It's exactly the same with playing an instrument, exactly in the same way as so many top guitarists that played so little but connected so much, because they gave you that opportunity to dissect and analyze every single note that they are playing, but the emotion within each note that they're playing. And generally, that is why players that do play a lot of notes per second don't connect to a lot of people. And certainly in the mainstream, you just have to apply it to basic talking, language, communication. When somebody is talking to you slowly, like I'm talking to you now, you are understanding everything that I'm saying. As soon as you slow down, everything becomes clearer. And it's exactly the same with music. It's a language that we all speak. This is why artists like Eric Clapton sell millions and millions of records and can connect to an audience like this, over 100,000 people, because they have mastered the expression within the music, but more importantly, they have mastered the language of music and they know how to talk it. They know how to talk it better than everybody else. Another really important point here to make as well is that Eric is a great example of a player who never plays too fast in terms of falling into that trap that so many guitarists do, where they think that playing faster means you're better. And it's not that. Unfortunately, if that was the case, everybody would be in a race to try and play the fastest, and the fastest player would win, and they'd just be seen as the champion, and nobody would ever buy anybody else's music because they're not the fastest. It's all about putting the expression into your playing and being able to express yourself as a musical artist the truest way and the most authentic way that you can. There will be some guitarists watching this that aren't into Eric Clapton, and that's absolutely fine, because their own way of playing might be really fast. You might like playing alternate pick runs and sweep picking arpeggios. That might speak to you on an artistic level and on a personal level, in which case that is the music that you should be making, because the ultimate goal of any artist is to make music that they feel represents them as a person and as an artist. And there will be some people that will connect with really fast players because they are into that music, but they know that it is an authentic use of speed. It isn't speed for speed's sake. As soon as you start doing that, as I said, it's something that is so transparent, but I don't know how it is, but a lot of people can just spot it a mile off, that the only reason this is fast is because the person wants to play fast, and that's it. They're not going for any connection. Whereas it's great sometimes to see a technically gifted player who also plays in such a way that you get a connection to it. There is an art to it, and generally the guys that can connect playing fast are those that are playing fast because it is their artistic expression, and that's what people latch onto. But I don't want this video to go on for too long. I have covered quite a lot of elements here. I think the thing to take away from this video is to see Eric Clapton as the songwriter, the singer, and the guitarist, a great example to other people learning, and other guitarists in general, just how to put gaps in your playing and let the audience absorb what you are playing and let them have that reaction to it. Just give them a little bit of time to appreciate and understand what you're saying musically. Thank you guys so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!